Okay, so this is like week in review 7. It's been better in some ways, worse in others. So one thing that I've kind of learned is that I really have to detach emotionally from outcomes. I mean, it's something I've always known, but it's also more so something that I've kind of learned to put into practice a little bit more, just because of now it's been my second week of properly dialing and stuff. I mean, it's still, they're not big achievements or anything like that, but it's just I'm trying to share my thoughts as I go along. And so really what I've been thinking about a lot this week is just that you have to just be analytical, and you can't get caught in how you feel. You just have to look at it like it's a statistic, right? So, and what I mean by that is, if you're cold calling and you're not booking the amount of meetings that you want to be booking, you have to look at your appointment booking rate, and then you also have to look at like how many dials have you made, because if you look at it from the point of a statistician, right? I mean, you're going to want to have done at least 1,000 dials with a certain script or a certain niche or cold calling method to give you any sort of kind of a rough idea on your actual how can I put this, like on your actual kind of script and your method. The only way you're going to get true results is just by and by true results, sorry, I mean like precise results, accurate results, right? If you only make 10 cold calls, you can't tell that that's not enough data. And so what I mean by that is, you do just have to put in the time to spend time making dials, even if they're not going the way you want. You still have to go through it, unless it's like completely terrible, like consistently for maybe 5 days. Then you're like, okay, well, something's obviously drastically wrong. But you should be able to tell if something is actually drastically wrong. But apart from that, you do just have to sit there and be like, okay, well, have I done enough dials to be realistic on this? And the reason I'm talking about this is because last week the appointment booking rate was around 2%. Maybe it was actually maybe just under it. And then this week I've kind of finished the week with the appointment booking rate on, let me just get it up here. It's on 3.14%. Now, that's not a massive increase, but 3% is still, I mean, it's an extra meeting per 100 dials, right? So it's gone up, it is the point. And script has changed ever so slightly. The opener has changed. Again, the overall offer and stuff has not changed that much. And I still get the same objections of people just not needing the work and stuff like that. So the only thing that has really changed is that I've just been cold calling different areas. Like right now, I'm cold calling England, and I've just cold called different areas. And sometimes that can be the case. You just cold call a different area and you get better results. And again, that's why this whole thing of be analytical. You have to detach and say, okay, you know what? I just have to make these 100 fucking dials today and just see what fucking happens, you know? And I think for me, a lot of the stress, like I talked about last week, having stress and stuff, and that just comes from either having very inconsistent, results from dialing, which honestly, the inconsistency on a daily basis doesn't really bother me, provided that the overall ABR is still at KPI or above KPI. But that's what kind of was getting stressed last week, is that it was like 2% below 2%, like consistently, somewhat consistently. It was only 5 days, but it was kind of like, fuck, if this doesn't change at all, like I could be pretty fucked. And then show rate last week on the meetings wasn't good at all. Like it was a number of things that wasn't great that I mentioned last week, but the point is that this week it's kind of flipped. Not flipped, but it's gotten much better. So overall show rate so far has been around like 40%. Appointment booking is now up to 3% overall across the last 2 weeks. So it's things get better, but that's the whole point of why you have to push through and just keep going with what you're doing. On a bad note, client wants to drop me. Basically, client told me at the start of the week, he was like, "Yeah, I'm not happy with this. I want to drop." He wants to drop me. Basically, now he said basically that the leads seem half interested. He'd spend a lot of time doing 3D designs of like the kitchens and stuff, and people seem half interested. And then I kind of realized, because I reached out to a guy in Jimmy Mitchell's community, and the guy shared his opinion, and he told me that he also feels it's probably a sales issue on the other guy's side. So, because the guy would just like get them to send photos of their current kitchen and measurements, and then he just send back fucking photos and shit in a rough quote. Of course the guy knows what he's doing. He's a kitchen guy and stuff, but the sales process still has to be good to actually, especially convert leads that are, technically speaking, cold leads. And that's kind of what I've come to learn going into this, is that for my next client, I am going to have to qualify the leads myself. And it's probably something I should have been doing from the start, but from now on, now I'm going to call the leads myself, message them myself, and actually make sure and kind of do my job of getting them to that point of quote ready. And that way I can also kind of understand the level of lead that's coming in and understand, is it on me, is it on their sales process. So what that client I just mentioned has done, he said he wanted to pause the ads for a week and see what comes back. And by looks of it, he might have actually gotten a job out of it. As in, basically, one of the quotes that he handed out actually booked in a meeting with him, an appointment at his office, and they had that today. And I haven't messaged him, but reading through the messages, the lady was talking about putting down a deposit. And if she does put down a deposit, then that's basically a closed job. So it could be very possible that maybe I have gotten him a job. And if so, at the very least, I'm going to fucking charge him. But really, if I do get him a job from that, then I can say, okay, moving forward, we're going to do it this way so that, I can improve on the service and stuff. But if he has landed a client from it, then surely he's going to fucking stay. Or at least be open if I have a new method saying I get leads quote ready and stuff first. At least he'll be more open to moving forward with it rather than just getting no results. So we're going to speak on Monday. I reckon I'm going to give him a call. And then back to appointment booking and getting clients itself. It's been rough because the problem with the pay after results is that it's kind of, and it's something I've learned again, and that's the whole thing, is that you just learn and learn. People kind of say they want to do it, and then they either just don't show up to the onboarding, or they back out halfway through the week. They cancel the meeting or something like that, or they just don't show up to the onboarding. And then when they don't show up to the onboarding, but they respond to my phone call to try and reschedule a new one, but then they kind of half don't respond when I'm like saying, okay, when's the best time? And it kind of just fucks with me because I'm like, well, is this guy in or is he out? Because he sounds like he's in. He tells me he wants to do it, but I think it's also a case of, because they haven't put any money down, there's no actual, close commitment to it, and therefore it's kind of, if they don't end up signing up, it's not the biggest thing, because they probably see it in their head, I suppose, as like, oh, I can get back to it another time if needs be. I haven't put any money down. And so what I've decided to do moving forward is to try and just onboard on the sales call. And all I want to do is just connect me to their Meta Business Suite and then get their card connected. That is basically it. Because if I can do that, then they're basically, if I can get their card, it's, again, if I get their card on their Facebook, they could still back out of that pretty easily if they decide not to. But in their mind, there's more of a commitment because they've actually connected their card. They are ready to pay, even if it's still pay after results. They're still ready to pay ad spend because they have at least connected their card. Now, again, like I just said, they could cancel it all and stuff, but the more commitment I can get, the better, right? And so that's why now I'm going to try and move toward the whole thing of onboarding on the call. And that way it also gives me a very clear way to see how serious they are, because I can say, okay, well, I mean, you just said you want to do it, so why not? Let's fucking do it. And that way there's none of these like soft yeses of like, yeah, we can schedule another call, and then they just cancel it or don't show up. And then from the other appointment side, I've had that's the thing, I've had like 2 or 3 people that are actually interested. One cancelled, one missed the onboarding, one was a follow-up call, but they were like both pretty eager to move forward from the end of the call. And again, I probably maybe I should have pushed harder on the first sales call, but they were both like, this looks very good and stuff. We just literally just want to think about it for 24 hours, call me back. And then when I called them back, I actually called him back the second day later, and he said to have a meeting at 4:30. Then when I got to 4:30, he said, sorry, I can't make it, a client just came in and stuff. And then he didn't respond to the message like an hour later, and was like, is now a better time? So I'm going to have to follow up with him on Monday and see what the actual story is. Then there's another guy who I'm following up with who kind of said he was interested. And then there's another guy there's actually 2 guys, who missed their onboarding calls today. And I was trying to get to them, and they didn't read the messages, but they also haven't been online on WhatsApp either. Like WhatsApp says they were online at like 10 a.m. and I'm messaging them at like 1 p.m, when the onboarding call was, and they haven't responded, but they haven't opened WhatsApp either. And it's just like, fucked, man, because it's like, it's so kind of up in the air on what's actually going to fucking happen. And it's, yeah, I guess that part maybe fucks with me a little bit. But on the plus side, I've kind of just, if I can keep a consistent 3% ABR, I'll be pretty happy. Because the other thing now I'm looking at is just making just more fucking volume of cold calls. Because recently I think it's probably something I've always been with, is like, I'm disciplined, and like if I have to get 100 dials done, I will get them done. But like getting out of bed is something I fucking hate doing. So I'd wake up at like 9, get out of bed at 10, start dialing from like 11 to 1 p.m., get 100 dials in. But now I'm just thinking, just get up at 9, start cold calling from 10. I mean, even then, like, waking up at 9 and getting up at 10, you could just start cold calling at half 9, and so there's levels to it. But now I'm thinking I might just cold call from 10 a.m. to 1 p.m., or do 2-3 hours, um, do 150, 200 dials a day, and just book more fucking meetings and just kind of out volume the problem. Now that I know my show rate has gone up to like 40, actually closer to 50%, then I can just, if I can book like 5 meetings a day, and I'm sitting like, roughly 10 to 15 meetings a week, I'm bound to fucking land a proper client. And at that point, I'm also looking at just charging upfront and stuff. Because again, it works more on the traditional sales thing of, now I've actually got things to work around. The only thing I wouldn't want to charge upfront for is that I feel like it could be harder with no testimonials, because when people ask, which anybody who does ask, and that kind of thing, then it's like, there's no real way around it other than lying. Now, if I have gotten this client in Ireland good results, I'll probably just start charging up front at that point, because I'll be like, I mean, I might even just look at running ads. If I know his money's coming in every month, I'm just going to spend all of the money I get from him on my own ads, just to fucking fill out my fucking calendar and grow as fast as I can. Basically, that's just the fucking plan. Um, in terms of actually making dials, I have my sheet open here. Monday was 38, Tuesday 110, Wednesday 101, Thursday 20, because I kind of had calls and stuff in the morning. And I think I had calls scheduled in the morning, so I was ready for them, and then they didn't show. But then I also had like 4 calls in the afternoon, and I started making like 20 dials, like I did, and and they were all looking for like meetings in the evening. And in my experience, it's rare that anybody, so far in my experience, people never want to book in on a Friday evening. They want to like just book it for next Monday. So I was like, considering I had all the meetings later that day and stuff, and I didn't have much time, I was like, okay, I'll just do 20 dials. I'll stop at 20 dials. But then to make up for it on Friday, I made like 150. So it's kind of, and doing that 150, I was like, you know what, fuck it, it's easy. If I just put on some fucking music on Spotify, put it on in the background, I can just sit here, lean back, with my fucking gaming headset on, making fucking cold calls. It's just easy fucking going. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at right now. I also did have a call with a guy from Jimmy Mitchell's community. He doesn't work for him or anything, but he's from Northern Ireland. He was in it, and he kind of gave me a bit of advice and stuff today. And that's basically where I'm at. I'm kind of, yeah, just seeing how things will go and see if I can keep booking meetings consistently. And if so, then now it's just a sales thing, and then it's service delivery, I suppose. And it's just fucking, just volume of fucking cold calls, and everything else follows from that, I guess. Yeah, that's where I'm at. I suppose I'm looking forward to going to Budapest on Friday morning. That's going to be cool. And yeah, that's basically where I'm at. That's Week in Review 7. This will probably be a long video.